Well, hello. This is Karen Zoe Lee, and you're listening to Lotus Moon Productions. Welcome to the Wrastlin Wrantz project. Whatever the promotion, we're here to learn and discuss. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 45 minutes of wrestling discussion with your hosts, Shugo and James.
Welcome back to the Wrastlin Wrantz project. I'm absolutely in love with that new intro. I mentioned it before when I was doing predictions and interviewing on the independent music side of things, but this time we get to include and welcome back James to the podcast. I missed you, bud.
I've missed you too, Cody. I should have gone hello, because everybody says that now here. Oh, it's great to be back. I've missed this so much. I can't put into words.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 3 or 4 weeks, but you know what? The downtime was needed. I was able to focus on some music stuff. I was able to get some predictions out and in other ways and stuff. So yeah, welcome back to the podcast. Everything's all polished up, new intros, and yeah.
At least I know with the new intros that you're not getting rid of me soon, so that's always a nice thing.
Never. I couldn't replace you.
You're not the first person to say that. There's nobody like me.
And definitely another shout out to the amazing Karen Zoe Lee for donating her voice to the podcast.
It's super cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we'll be circling a few different background intros as the podcast moves forward. So be sure to look forward to that, and as well as the independent music side of things. Just mentioning that the last few weeks I've had the pleasure of interviewing Karen Zoe Lee. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Bentley Jones from months ago, and I had Napalm Fugitive on just a couple of weeks ago as well. And in the next little couple of months or so, and even next week, I'm going to be having synthwave pop star Michael Oakley. I'm going to be having Thought Beings on in January, and Digital Ghost as well. So those are some other music side of podcasts to look forward to. But getting back to the wrestling side of things, there's lots to talk about, James.
It's been a busy week, let alone a few weeks. So yes, lots to talk about, lots to get our teeth into, and a lot to rant about.
Yes.
Also rave about.
Rant and rave for absolutely sure. I mean, even though it's close to the end of the year, wrestling seems to be red hot with NXT WarGames around the corner. Winter is coming over in AEW with what is being rumored to be a mini pay-per-view next Wednesday for free. And how can it not be? Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship will headline the evening.
Oh, to say that I am stoked for this match is an understatement. These are the two best wrestlers around at the moment, really, because obviously New Japan had the hiatus, and these two have been working through it. So yeah, the two best in the world go head to head for the world title. That's what dreams are made of.
Yeah, and if that wasn't enough, we all said goodbye to a 30-year-old career who is one of the most, if not the most respected man in the business, The Undertaker, at WWE Survivor Series last week. Can you believe it? The retirement happened.
No, I can't believe it. We'll see how long that retirement goes on for. But cynicism aside, everybody has had an Undertaker phase. If you're our age, you will have had an Undertaker phase, and it's a shame that that type of goodbye was done in that type of arena. And if it is the end, then he's had a good run. But yeah, I don't think this is the end of the Undertaker. So don't expect a shocked response when we find out that there's a new match coming in 2021 between him and somebody else, whoever that might be, possibly AJ Styles, who knows.
I was convinced that the Fiend was going to attack or something with Bray Wyatt or something at the end, like the Undertaker Thunderdome. But you know what, though? I have a feeling that we're going to get a proper send-off once crowds are able to return next year or something. But for right now, I mean, I get all the criticism of the retirement. I mean, yes, retirements can't go certain ways and as we want and stuff like that. And we don't know everything that happens in the background. But having all of those people in the ring stay silent, you know, I wanted at least a few of them to say something towards Taker. And I felt it very sloppy, just everything produced wise. But at the same time, maybe that's all they could have done. I don't know. But there just seemed to be something missing.
It felt incoherent. The way that we had the announcement that it was the ceremony for the Undertaker's retirement, and we started off with Shane McMahon, that world famous rival of the Undertaker, as the first introduction, and then the Big Show, and it just felt like they'd just dragged out the guys that were just hanging out the back and brought them out just to stand there for a bit and then disappear. That didn't make any sense to me. And yeah, to actually have them talk would have been fantastic. But we spent 15, 20 minutes just watching some guys from the past come out with their theme tune, have a little bit of a pop of, oh, look, it's the Godfather. Oh, look, it's Booker T. Oh, look, it's JBL. But we never got to hear from them. So that was a bit weird. And then the promo that the Undertaker cut was very short, really. Yeah. And I must admit, I wasn't a fan of the Electro Undertaker theme start.
Oh, no?
I felt like if this was the end of it, surely you go full Undertaker. You don't experiment with a classic when you're saying goodbye. I don't think that's the right time to do something experimental. People want to hear the hits. It's like Paul Young. I heard an anecdote about Paul Young in the 70s. He released a new album, and everybody was really disappointed that they hadn't heard any of the songs before. And right at the end, he said, right, now for me to play a song that you might have heard. And he played the first song that he started the set with. So it doesn't fit right when you try something new, when you're celebrating, basically. It didn't feel right to me. But the Undertaker's entrance is iconic, and it looked good. I liked the lift into the ring. That was quite nice. The little forklift that he stood on. I wish he did that a bit more often, actually, because that was cool. Just need to sort out the camera angle so we don't actually see the hydraulics going on. But yeah, practice for the real retirement, I feel. Dress rehearsal.
It could have been just short and sweet, right? I mean, what can you do for somebody who's worked their ass off the past 30 years and kept pretty much kayfabe alive the entire time? I mean, there's not enough words to say for the Undertaker, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's like, what can we say? He's done it all. We can thank him for literally pretty much everything. So, I mean, and as for the coils and the sound, the lightning, the experimental thing at the beginning, I mean, I was kind of nerding out for that. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty original, unique. But I mean, yeah, I totally understand that. You know, the classics, you know, people want to see that. People want to feel that nostalgia vibe, because nostalgia sells like crazy, as you know. If it didn't, the Undertaker wouldn't be around.
That's kind of his stick, yeah.
Yeah. But man, 30 friggin' years. Like he started in the business, what was it? Survivor Series 1990. And that was a year after I was born. And I didn't even know who the Undertaker was at 1 year old. Didn't know who he was at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, like I started watching wrestling when I was 5, but actually knowing who the Undertaker was, I was just watching wrestling on Saturday mornings or whatever program that was back then. I can't even remember. I just knew it was on Saturdays when I was a kid. And then eventually, as I got older, you know, I started watching SmackDown and Raw and keeping up with that. So, but just seeing this character over the past 20 years evolve, and just, it's been an absolute pleasure. So whatever comes from this, if he has one more match, if he doesn't have one match, if he stays retired, from this point on, I am just so thankful that the Undertaker blessed us all with his time for 30 years and kept kayfabe alive for all of that time. And if he wants to sit there on YouTube and eat hot wings, damn right he deserves it.
He is definitely one to have kept the kayfabe going the longest. I'm interested to hear from you, Cody. When I say the Undertaker, what era and what matches come into your mind?
That's actually a really, really good question.
When we mention them.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I guess when I think about the Undertaker, I definitely don't think back to 1990. Definitely not 1990. Like, that Undertaker is lost on me. When I see old old pictures and videos and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, he's young.
With the purple gloves and the face mask
Yes,
era and all of
yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah, and it was all hair's all kind of like poofy outside of his head, like it's the red hair and it's not like full black hair yet, and there's it's just certain things like that. And then there's I think I found the Undertaker right around the Ministry of Darkness, like when he was
Yes.
capturing Stephanie McMahon and stuff like that. I remember that. So, but my most fond memories of the capturing the Undertaker of who he is probably anywhere between 2000 and 2008. Like that run that he had from that 10 year, I guess, from 2000 to 2010. I mean, he feuded with Jeff Hardy. He feuded with like back in 2002 with that ladder match on Raw, which is still one of my favorite matches to this day. And then he, like, at near the end of all that, I think it was 2007-8, he was beating Batista. So I mean, and then he fought Orton with the Legend Killer vibe. He fought Edge. I mean, that streak took place. So I think that's the Undertaker that I encompass, is back when in the early 2000s, when that streak really became a thing, and then he had that long streak of just dominance. Like I remember when I was a kid, I can't remember what WrestleMania this was, but I think it was 2001 or 2002, and it was, or even 2003. And Undertaker was gone for a while, and people weren't sure if he was going to make it at WrestleMania, and Kane was taunting him. And eventually he did come back, and he fought Kane, and he won. But his hair was still growing back from the American Badass look. So his hair was still kind of short, and people weren't sure if he was going to make it. So I remember him coming to the ring after the whole American Badass thing had just ended, like that 2-3 years of that American Badass character. And I was like, I remember looking at my parents, and I was like, oh, the Undertaker doesn't look the same. He's got short hair. What's with the trench coat and the hat and everything? I get it. But he doesn't, his hair, I was just really into the look, because I expected the Undertaker to have the long hair, the gothic look, but that's one of the memories that I have of him coming back as that phenom character when he fought Kane at that early WrestleMania in the early 2000s. What about you?
So again, Ministry of Darkness for Undertaker was the first exposure, really.
Yeah.
We got into wrestling probably about the same time. And I didn't really get him. I found him as a creepy old man. Not much has changed. But, and then the American Badass. Now, with retrospect, people look at the American Badass and badmouth it. But at the time, that was cool. Linkin Park were really cool. And it all got that moment. Okay, looking back at it and knowing what the Undertaker really is now, you go, maybe not a great career path, but he still had great matches during that time. You mentioned the Jeff Hardy match.
Yeah.
And he was still there. But for me, it is the Phenom Undertaker. So the Batista reign, the WrestleMania match with Edge and the Undertaker in 2008 was fantastic for me. I'm a huge Edge fan anyway. Edge world champion, Undertaker becoming world champion, and that whole SmackDown era with Teddy Young. it's people take the mick out of it now with, and tonight you'll be facing the Undertaker. But the Undertaker was a huge draw, and he was the highlight of that SmackDown show for me, because there was nobody else like him, and he was just different, and he was cool. And some people say he didn't need the world title, but I think he did at that time. The world heavyweight title around the Undertaker made me go, well, that's the top dude, and that's the top title. You put them together, and that was the Undertaker for me. The whole mystique behind him, the whole entrances, him and Shawn Michaels, obviously at WrestleMania both times,
yes,
were just phenomenal again in that period. And I think that's where he really cemented that legacy, because, as you say, the streak became a thing and really got highlighted, which I can't believe that they stumbled upon that, because that was the thing in the Edge match. They were both undefeated at WrestleMania, so one of them would lose. And they built upon that, and they then had the Brock Lesnar thing, which at the time people were a bit shocked, but in hindsight, again, it's probably was the best thing to do if you're going to end it. I don't feel like ending it was the right thing to do. Ultimately, I think you had an opportunity there to have an absolute legend, absolutely tearing it up at WrestleMania, an undefeated record at WrestleMania, which nobody can do now. Nobody ever will have an undefeated record at WrestleMania of more than one. So yeah, he's a legend of the sport. The fact that morning television here in Britain had an interview with him shows the impact. Just normal breakfast television. It wasn't a sports channel. It wasn't a cable channel. It was on free-to-air television, and they were interviewing The Undertaker about his retirement. That's a huge impact. And no matter what your personal stance is on him, he is a legend of this sport, this entertainment that we like to talk about and get lost in. And yeah, good on him. He's had his run. And we know wrestling retirements last as long as they last, you know. I think there's only one way a wrestler truly retires, and it's not when they have a choice. So yeah, great career, some great memories, and I'm sure we'll get a few more in the future as well. This is the nice thing about wrestling retirements. I'm sure we'll get more memories.
Yeah, and shout out to that Shawn Michaels Undertaker match too. I completely forgot about that. And how did I? Because it's two of my favorite wrestlers. Shawn Michaels, that's one of the dudes that got me into the business, you know, got me through the door, made me a wrestling fan when I was a kid. So, and Bret Hart and all them as a kid. So yeah, and Triple H too. Triple H and the Undertaker at WrestleMania, like those two back and forth, the two Shawn Michaels, the two Undertaker, they were nice. Like I even remember back then people were complaining, they were like, oh, the last 4 years of WrestleMania, it's been the Undertaker versus the same two people, blah 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 blah. And I was like, man, it's two of the best. Just let them go. Let them have fun. And the storyline made sense, right? So as long as it makes sense, and that's what we were always talking about. And one feud that we didn't mention, I know that was between the 2000 and 2010 gap, but right after that 2010 gap, around that time, we even had CM Punk versus The Undertaker.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's been some amazing feuds with this character over the last 30 years.
Even more recently, the John Cena call-out to The Undertaker for WrestleMania 35. I laughed my head off.
Yes, yeah, that was awesome.
When he's like, don't complain about your back when you're posing on your wife's Instagram. That was brilliant. And yes, okay, it was a bit of a farce, was that whole thing, but it was still a bit of fun. And that kind of showed you what you can do in wrestling. You don't have to be super serious all the time. You can have a bit of a laugh. And yeah, you know, the stuff with Saudi Arabia, in the long term, it will be a blotch, I think, on his career. People won't be talking about that. They'll mention it, but it won't be the thing that everybody remembers.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. I mean, obviously, he wishes he could take back those matches too. So why would people torture him over that? I mean, he's just as bad. I mean, nobody's torturing himself more over it than him, right? Back then. So it's, I mean, accidents happen and nobody wants to do that in the ring. But yeah, 30 freaking years of The Undertaker. Amazing. Now, with AEW, and there's so much to talk about, and we only have 45 minutes to talk about everything, which is just hilarious. But now I'll briefly mention NXT WarGames because it's one of the exciting pay-per-views of November, but it got moved obviously because of COVID-19 and all that stuff around the planet, the lovely global thing that's tearing us all down. And honestly, at this point, I don't give a crap if I'm demonetized. I don't care. It's out there. I'm not going to pretend it's out there. I'm not going to hush because someone doesn't want me to say it. No. I know.
You mean, Cody, we can say the C word on here?
Yeah, we can say the C word because I don't give a crap.
I'm British. You know what our C word is.
I do. It's a beautiful But with NXT WarGames, will you be checking it out next weekend?
I will do my utmost to check it out. I really enjoy WarGames. It's complete and utter daft fun. And last year's when Ciampa looked like he was about to kill himself off the top of that cage after his neck surgeries, I literally shouted, "They're going to die!" And as he took Adam Cole and himself through a table off the top of that cage, it's going to be amazing. And I've enjoyed the bits and pieces I've seen of the Undisputed Era and the Kings of NXT. With Pat McAfee and Pete Dunne and Birch and Larkin. Larkin and Birch. I've really enjoyed those wrestlers on their own. Separately, bringing them all together has really helped, and it'll be great fun. And the women's match, the NXT women, they are the pinnacle of the women's era. Yeah. You can put any combination together, you've got a banging match, and they will tear it up. I mean, whether we can get the same emotional impact as we had obviously last year with the turn of Dakota Kai on Tia Nox, probably not, but still, that was an impressive match. So I have every faith in them as well. I will endeavour to watch this, and I won't be watching it at double speed or 1.5 speed as I did for Survivor Series at times, because it's an NXT takeover. It's going to bang. It is. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, it totally is. And I mean, again, like you mentioned the women's division NXT, and they're amazing. You put them in a match, they'll tell them what to do, and they'll freaking tear down the house. And I mean, we still have 3 more members to be announced on Shotzi Blackheart's team, but I mean, on Team Candice, Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm. Toni Storm's a heel now. So I mean, even that alone, like those 5 women, it doesn't matter what 3 women you add on Shotzi Blackheart's team. It doesn't matter. Those 8 women, whoever they are at the end of all this, are going to tear the house down in that WarGames match. And then with the Undisputed Era returning to the WarGames match, I can't believe how far this Pat McAfee thing has gone. I really haven't been. Honestly, I'll be the first person to tell everybody how much Pete McAfee drove me nuts for years. And he still drives me nuts. But the first time I saw him wrestle Adam Cole, holy damn shit. That man can wrestle, that man can do things, and that blew me a mind. And I was sitting here wondering that day when I saw that Pat McAfee, Adam Cole go at it. I was like, where has this guy been? He's been standing there saying scripted promos for the past 2-3 years, and he's annoyed the hell out of me. Where has this been? If I knew he was able to do all that, like, where has this talent been for the past 3 years? So, I mean, I'm glad that they're using him. Pete Dunne joining him was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect that. But, yeah, I mean, Pat McAfee was a wild card I didn't see coming.
Pat McAfee is one of those annoying people that is really good at everything they do, to such an extent that they are world class. And those people really annoy me because I wish I was them. The Adam Cole Pat McAfee match, I didn't catch it live. I caught it in all the storm of everything and caught up with it and watched it and couldn't believe what I was seeing. And yet, I don't think obviously without that match you don't have this match. And they've just struck. I think NXT in the past month or so has found itself again. It was lost as soon as everything happened with the closed arenas and no crowds. NXT, for me especially, I couldn't get into it. I lost my love for it in a way. But recently, there's been a change in the guard, and there's been a change, as there always is in NXT. That's the whole point of it. You process through. And they're starting to find themselves again, and that's great for the show, and it's great for those that are getting a bit more of a spotlight now. I really want to see Roderick Strong as babyface. That is something I'm looking forward to with this whole Undisputed Era. I think it's time now that you split them up. There was always the call for people to say, oh, well, you wait until crowds come back. No, basically keep doing your storylines just as if crowds were there now. We know that now. And yeah, it's time for the Undisputed Era to split and to go to separate ways and to see that implosion that has been building so spectacularly in the past 6 months. I can't wait for that. And yeah, it'll be a great show. And Raquel Gonzalez, what a year she's had. Was it this time last year she debuted, or was it even later than that? Actually, it might have been earlier this year.
Yeah,
Raquel Gonzalez. Right at the beginning.
Time has all
it's
like,
all warped.
encompassed into one.
Yes. The past 10 months have seemingly been decades. But
just like one long pay-per-view.
Yeah, indeed. She's had a great year, and she's building herself up to the point where, yeah, she's a legitimate challenger for a world title. Definitely. She's on the way. And it's great to see. And I do like seeing wrestlers, and I do enjoy seeing the journey that they go on. That is part of the appeal of wrestling. You go on a journey with characters you enjoy watching. So, yeah, it's great for her. And, yeah, WarGames will be great fun, as always. And we'll see what... we're not even mentioned Johnny Gargano and this whole heel turn that happened, and he's absolutely brilliant at it. He's so good. He's one of my favorites. And with your favorite wrestler, you enjoy them as a face and you enjoy them as a heel. And yeah, initially I thought, oh, he can't pull it off, but he's found his voice and he's pulling it off amazingly. I mean, I don't know if he loves wheels this week or not. It's very difficult to tell, but he goes in and out of his love of wheels. But such a good character.
Yeah, I actually like what they're doing with the Johnny Gargano, Leon Ruff thing. I mean, I like how they gave him the title. Like, I don't know what they're doing long term with that, but I mean, Leon Ruff, Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, triple threat for the NXT North American Championship at WarGames. That's going to be fun too. So I mean, WarGames is just going to be a fun time, and we'll try and put out some predictions for it next week.
Yes, we definitely will.
Now, you said face and heel is the best way for your favorite wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah, so that made me think of AEW immediately with Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, because I wanted to talk to you about that. And I mean, there's not really much more to talk about with WarGames right now. The other two championship matches haven't been announced, and there is a strap match with Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes, which would be fun as well. But that comes December 6th, and 2 more matches I'm sure will be added to that, or at least the championship. I will confess I have not watched NXT the last few weeks, but I have been kind of keeping up in the background with certain things. But I don't know the direction they're going with the 2 championship matches that have not been announced for the pay-per-view. So if they already have, or I don't know something, don't yell at me. But getting back to AEW, though, winter is coming next week on Dynamite. It's going to be Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega for the AEW championship. And man, Kenny Omega is pretty much one of my favorite characters in Dynamite, and I absolutely loved the beatdown he got last night by Jon Moxley. And that's that face heel dynamic that you were talking about. I absolutely loved it. Having Kenny Omega standing in that silhouette, preparing to come out like he always does, and then Jon Moxley just kind of getting up behind him, and you see the silhouette of him rise above Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega doesn't see it, and he just beats the hell out of him. It just reminded me of I don't know, I got this vibe of nostalgic Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the way Jon Moxley carries himself, he's just like, he's loose and he hangs around. I loved it. I thought it was so good. It continued on into the ring. And then Jon Moxley hit this amazing promo. He told everybody how much he loves this shit. Like, you could see how much he was happy. He's been happy in AEW. He's been the champion for the past, 8-9 months now, since February? Revolution?
You forget how long it is, as we just said. Yeah, since February.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's knocked out of the park this year. And so, I mean, I don't know if Jon Moxley is going to lose the title next week. I honestly have no idea. I know Renee is expecting now. I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen, or if Jon Moxley needs time off because of, COVID around the world and stuff like that. I have no idea what's going on backstage. Booking-wise, I think shenanigans might happen somehow, and this will move on to Revolution, but that's also 3 months away, pretty much almost. So, Revolution is near the end of February. So, are they really going to wait that long to take the title off of Moxley? Because as we know, AEW's next pay-per-view is February. That's a long time to wait to keep this feud going. So, unless they're somehow going to have shenanigans and then Jon Moxley defends it against somebody else on TV in the next couple of weeks or next month or so, and then we get back to Kenny Omega, and that's how it happens. But I have no idea. What about you?
It's, as I said before, you love wrestlers, your favorite wrestlers, you love them as a heel, you love them as a face, and Kenny Omega, I love this heel gimmick that he just, the way he finished his promo when he was talking to Alex Marvez about Jon Moxley's dad. Like, oh yeah, by the way, my dad could beat your dad. It's just like, you dick, you just made it childish there. And he just is smarmy, and the whole fact that he keeps referencing North Carolina in his entrances to make him a man of the people. like he's from North. He knows where North Carolina is. He wrestled there once. He's just brilliant. And this is the thing. You said Stone Cold Steve Austin vibes with Jon Moxley. I couldn't put that any better. He is the guy you look at and you go, I wish I was like that guy. I remember a BTE video months ago when Jon Moxley was obviously fresh in AEW, and the Young Bucks were walking behind him in an airport, and they both went down the camera and they went, he even walks like a hard man, look at him. And he was just walking, and you're like, yeah, you wouldn't mess with that guy at all. He's just he is that person, and he's the perfect babyface world champion. Now, when it comes to the match itself, it's been a good reign. It's been a long reign. And I think to add spice into this, you get Kenny Omega winning this match. Kenny Omega says, this is his whole stick with this feud at the moment, is you haven't beaten me in a wrestling match. And that was what he was pushing last night on Dynamite, was you keep it in the ring, you can't beat me. I'm the best bout machine. You cannot beat me in the ring. You have to take it onto the outside, and you can't beat me. And a Kenny Omega that has beaten Moxley in the ring, maybe by a bit of shenanigans or something that's not properly fair, but it's on that borderline, would be, you'd want Moxley to come back and absolutely tear him to pieces. And that would be great storytelling. The thing that really makes me go on the Kenny Omega route as well is what's happening hopefully happening in January with Wrestle Kingdom.
Yes. Because
Moxley's got the US title in New Japan, and he needs to go and defend that. So does he have to go to Japan and quarantine and do bits and pieces there? If he does, then you'd need to take the AEW title off him, I think.
That's true as well. It's very true.
So that makes me think that Moxley could lose it, but I'm not sure. This is the fantastic thing. I'm not sure. I could see it going both ways. I could see it being, I know AEW have the stipulation where it's 60 minutes and it's a judge's decision. Although they've gone quiet on that since the first time they introduced it, I could see it going 60 minutes, but it probably won't, because it's a TV and you've got to keep the flow going on a TV match. If it was a pay-per-view, I'd say I want this to become an Iron Man match, a 60-minute Iron Man match for Revolution. The rematch would be awesome.
We've seen a 30-minute Iron match with Pac on TV, and that was crazy.
That was bonkers. It was. I think, this feud whatever happens next Wednesday, it's not the end of it. And that is so much better for everybody. And like, you've got bits, I think with Omega being champion as well, you have a few more storyline threads to go with, because Moxley's pretty much beaten everyone that he could beat for the championship. Omega, you've obviously got Hangman there in the background, the lost, lonely soul cowboy, who the Dark Order look to be just being a bit kind to at the moment. Which, a year ago, again, if you said Adam Page is going to the Dark Order, you'd like, well, that's his career dead. Now it's, yeah, I can see that happening. They're both really strong. They're both had fantastic years where they've rehabilitated themselves and had awesome years. You know, yeah, we've got so many storytelling possibilities with AEW's world title fight. But yeah, I'm swinging on the side of Kenny Omega because I just want to see the dickhead that Kenny Omega can be with that title.
Yeah.
And I want to absolutely hate him. But he's still my favorite wrestler. Still my favorite wrestler.
I mean, mentioning Adam Page there too, that match between John Silver and Adam Page, there were some things in that match from John Silver I did not expect.
Oh, John Silver he's a banger. He has got it. And yeah, when he has a singles career, it's going to be amazing. Because, I mean, look at the guns on that guy. When he's comparing his to Adam Page's. Adam Page is like half a foot taller than him. And John Silver's got bigger arms than Page has. It's ridiculous.
I think John Silver has bigger arms than my head.
Well, we know how big your head is, Cody. Yay!
Oh my. John Silver, though, I mean, like he cracks me up. He cracks me up on that BTE, whether it's Mr. Brody Lee getting mad at him, calling him, getting upset with him and calling him an idiot, or just everything. The guy is hilarious. He's definitely won me over the last couple of months with his jokes and how he operates online on Twitter and stuff. My God, he makes me laugh. And if you entertain me, that's all it is, right?
Exactly. He brings that side of wrestling where he's the entertainer, but he can also go. And that's sometimes with the jokey characters. They're just a joke, but no, he's legitimate. And it's the same with him. Orange Cassidy's the same. Like, he's a joke, but then when he needs to, he can go. Same with Otis in WWE. Like, he's got that look where you go, oh, he's not very good, but he can go. Otis can go. I still go back to the Ciampa Otis match in NXT and say, if you really want to see what he can do, go to that, because he's got it. He just hasn't had the opportunity. And yeah, we've got a great, as you say, free to view pay-per-view next week to look forward to. We've got a pay-per-view for NXT, which will be great because it's an NXT takeover. Effectively, it's a WarGames. It's a takeover. We've got some great wrestling coming up, and obviously Wrestle Kingdom is coming up in January, and also in January, Royal Rumble Day time. Everybody gets excited for that.
Yep, Royal Rumble's just around the corner, which is absolutely insane with how this year's been. But with about 5 minutes left, there's one more segment from AEW Dynamite that I wanted your opinion on.
Okay.
And that is the Cody Rhodes, Darby Allin, Team FTW with Taz yesterday, because my goodness, Taz's promo last night. I absolutely love when wrestling convinces me that I don't know if it's a work or a shoot.
Oh, yeah. I initially was like, oh, this is part of the script. And then I was like, I don't know if this is real or not now. Hold on a second. This feels a bit out of control. But yeah, it was brilliantly done. Brilliantly done.
Yeah, I've been saying the last few weeks to multiple people that Taz has been just a little loose cannon lately on Dark, and he's been kind of annoying on commentary almost. Just more argumentative on commentary than calling the match. That's all I want, right? I mean, I've said that multiple times in the past with various commentators. But when Taz came out, and I mean, I believed him. I mean, I want that FTW championship to have prestige. I want people to defend it. I want it to be circulating around and being defended at pay-per-views and being a big deal. Of course, all fans want that. So when he was telling management, hey, I want this title to mean something, I feel like I'm being screwed here. And Cody was like, well, we can have a tag team match. And I'm like, well, that's kind of insulting in a way, because you're asking for your title to be prestige, and then you're getting thrown into a tag team match where your title will not be prestigious. So when Cody mentioned the sun thing, and yeah, like I was just like, now obviously, if this is all, like, they're the best at what they do, because as we know in AEW, there's no scripts. It's, are you okay with saying this? Okay, I'll say it. But I don't know how far that went, and if this is all work, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, because I walked away from just that promo alone last night, and I was like, damn, I did not expect that. Where did this come from? I like this direction going with Team Taz, and now we have Powerhouse Hobbs. Like, what a name to give Will Hobbs, right? So I'm really enjoying this new twist with Team Taz.
Team Taz have built, since the summer, momentum to be the top heels on AEW. They've surpassed the Dark Order, which when Mr. Brody Lee comes back, he won't be happy about that, because they will feel forgotten, and he will be out to get whatever title he sees fit. And it's with Powerhouse Hobbs as well. How a guy that can look so... This is, again, what we're saying about face and heel. When he's playing face, you're like, yeah, it's Will Hobbs. Go on, Will. Powerhouse Hobbs, you want to punch in the face. When he does that little sneer. Oh, it's not a little sneer, it's a huge sneer. Crumbs, it's massive, is his mouth. The way it just all shows teeth and gum. It's like, wow, you've got that in your locker. And the way that I forget who he was against last night. I thought he'd killed him with the first shot. I think that went a little bit wrong, because there was a little bit of the commentators weren't ready for it, and he just attacked him and pounced him, and it was, that's gone very hard, very quick. They've built fantastically well. Brian Cage obviously is there, which you kind of forget about, which is ridiculous considering how hot we were when he appeared in the ladder match. We were like, wow, who's this guy? Brian Cage, he's fantastic. It's AEW, as you say, with the way that they're not scripted, and it feels dangerous because it's live. Anything can happen. The only thing that made me go, oh, this is definitely allowed, was that Taz's son was there.
Yeah.
And picked up the FTW title. I think if he wasn't there, it would have been like, ooh, I wonder if Cody's just touched a nerve there. Well, mentioning him.
Even that with, the son was working with Cody, and then all of a sudden at the end of that, he wasn't with Cody anymore. He was back with Taz. So even that felt real. But I'm pretty sure last week's episode recorded both. So last night's episode and last week's episode were all recorded together. So that's another really, like, if it was truly, bad, they would never have aired that. Right.
No.
So
yeah.
But either way, when you have me thinking, when you have me feeling that, like when you're having me go, oh my God, I don't know, something went, like I was very vastly entertained with that.
Yeah, it's the hottest weekly show in wrestling is Dynamite, for good reason. And hopefully next week, with Winter is Coming, with a huge match, and they crack 1 million. They deserve to. They have put so much work into this, and I don't know where the rest of the wrestling fans are on a Wednesday night. It'd be interesting to see, like, digital download or digital recording information, and how much they're they're drawing. But so long as this show keeps continuing, like it's going to go for another 3 years at least, we're going to be happy for another 3 years. Hopefully it keeps going and going and going and keeps building. Although we all know, we've all lived a life, we all know good things come to an end, but I hope it's a very long time before these good things end, because it's absolutely brilliant right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with that, we'll have to wrap things up. And that 45 minutes aired already. Already done.
Goes quickly.
Thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice in here, simply send me a PM on any of my social media, and James and I will be happy to hear your opinions. You can find all of our socials on SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, Lotus M Productions on Instagram for the independent music side of things, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. With that, this has been LMP Wrestling, and we are signing off.